Lisa. Kenny didn't want to throw you under the bus. My bad.
It's all good. I'm a quiet person till I'm not.
Yeah, until you're not, Antoine.
Ouch.
Oh, I meant that in a good way.
She's totally right. She's totally right.
Well, it is 6:01, Sharon. We do have a quorum.
Are we ready? So, do you want to go, but is Brent not
I
Not
don't
checked in?
see him.
We don't know. He's not on the list either. And is Paul here yet?
Paul is here.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we have a quorum. We're after 6, so let's just go, and we'll adjust as necessary as we go. So we do have
we
a
are
quorum.
we are
Go ahead.
recording and we are recording and we are live streaming, so you're good to go.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. I should have asked that ahead of time. But in any event, welcome to meeting 22 of the APFO task force. Everybody has received the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve it?
So
A motion to approve the revised agenda.
The revised agenda. And a second.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
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 And that passes. The minutes have been posted from the July 16th meeting. So I just need a motion to approve those minutes.
I move to approve the minutes of the July 16th meeting.
And a second.
I'll second that.
All approved? Aye.
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 So let's move forward. If Brent comes in, I may have to go backwards and do this over again. But just so we're all clear on kind of what our agenda is for this evening and how we're going to proceed. Time is kind of really of the essence at this point. We will be voting at our next meeting, which is the 13th, which will be our final meeting. We'll be voting, and that is anticipated to be a very simple meeting of voting to approve what will have had the opportunity to review and comment on one more time. The plan right now is for the next draft, which will be prepared after we have our conversations this evening, would be in everybody's inbox by the 7th of August. And then if there are any additional comments after that, they really need to be back to Linda by the 8th, or no later than sometime on the 11th, early as possible on the 11th, because we will be voting on the 13th. So that would give Linda and her team, at least a day or two, if we get any final comments back on the 11th, to make the revisions, get it back in everybody's hands, so they're actually voting on a final document that is ready to be released. So that's the plan going forward. So as it relates back to tonight, we still have a decent list of things to complete on the parking lot motions. And we also have Jeremy is back. So one of the items that we dismissed, thinking that we were going to be done before he got back, is back on the agenda for this evening. So we'll definitely do that. And Paul has one as well. So what I'd like to do, Linda, is go back to your list and go back to whatever number we left off at, which is 100 and something, and go right from there. Now, as to how we're going to actually manage tonight, we have to be a little more judicious in our use of time, because if we're going to get through all of these, we have to be concise. So it will be a little different. It won't be quite as freewheeling as the last meeting. In conversations today with Lisa and with Laura, our rules cops, if you will, we are going to proceed on this basis. Whoever is left sponsoring a motion will read the motion that they have that's actually posted, and they will read it word for word. We will I will then call for a second. No elaboration, no discussion, no explanation. It stands as it is. I will call for a second. If there is a second, we will proceed to conversation and discussion and then voting. If there is no second based on the reading of the motion, then we just move on directly. Last week, we got distracted so many times by going into deep discussions about exactly what a motion was before we even got to seconding the motion. So tonight, it's going to be a little different. You just read the motion as it is. If you have one on the list, I will call for a second. If there is a second, we proceed. Simple as that. And the hope is then we can get through those remaining motions there on the list, and we can get to Paul and Jeremy as well. And then the most important thing tonight, obviously, those are not unimportant items, but we have to get to discussing the draft report. And that's where I want to leave Linda at least an hour to do that. She has some materials together to actually look at, and we're going to go into that when we can finish the remaining motions. So that said, let's go ahead with where we are on whatever number we're going to start with tonight. And what I will say is, if unless Brent has shown up in the meantime, if he does show up, we'll go back if we skip over any of his. So we'll just make note of the fact that we need to go back if he does show up. Okay. So where are we?
So looking at the motions and what, where we are. So I think the next motion that I had that we skipped over was Vanessa Pantana's, and I don't believe this was scratched out. I went back and looked through the ones that were removed. So I highlighted in pink ones that we had not discussed yet. So, and I did not have this removed. So if I missed it and it was removed, my apologies. But this was one of your
Oh,
motions.
it's okay.
109.
It's okay. I actually thought it was removed in the past.
Okay. So it might
There's
have
other
been,
things covered, so I'm
there was
good.
a saving issue on my end, so maybe that's what had happened.
That's fine.
So-
So it's just, so we're removing it, right, Vanessa?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have one question.
Yes.
Is this most recent document, I'm trying to find it in, would this still be on the same document that we've been sharing throughout and working on throughout?
Yes, but we've
This
been
current one that
updating
you
it
have
as we've
shared?
been going along. So I'm happy to send you the updated version if you'd like.
If you wouldn't mind, I'm just having trouble
Yeah,
finding
why
it
don't
because
you-
I can't read it on
Can
this
you
screen.
email that out to everybody real quick if you don't mind, Linda?
Nope, not at all.
Thank you.
And Linda, also, if there's a way for you to increase the font size just a little, even a little bit would help.
Yep, absolutely. Let me just go ahead and share this quickly. Give me 1 second here. All right, and let me just share this with the entire group. Yep. Okay, give me 2 shakes here. You all can't see this. I didn't want to share everyone's email for the general work. You all can't see that. You're still seeing the same screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
You are showing everyone's email now, Linda.
No, okay, sorry. Sometimes it takes it off. There we go. Okay. Sometimes it takes it off and it only shares the screen that you were sharing and doesn't switch it when you do something else. So I apologize. I did not intend to do that. That's okay. All right, this has been sent and it should be in your inbox in a second.
So we'll all look for that. Let's keep going if we can. What's still, where are we then with that one
Okay,
passed?
so you want the fonts a little bit bigger, so let me do.
There we go. That's helpful.
Is that bigger?
That's a little better. one more notch would be even better, but
Okay. How's that?
better.
Monique,
Make
got
it
still
work.
more?
No, I think it's okay.
Okay, oh
Um,
geez. Okay, hold on. Let's do it.
I received your email with the back lot, so hopefully everyone else did too.
Okay,
I
good.
did. Hey, there we go.
Good.
Great, great, great. Okay. Next up.
So then I have this from Aaron. I didn't see 115 removed.
Are you there, Aaron?
Yeah, I'm in a hotel room, so I'm not on camera, but I remove that.
Okay.
Okay, just double checking. All right, good. And then this was Jeremy's.
Okay. Jeremy, well, let's go. Jeremy, it's
Yeah.
all you.
Great. Yeah. So this motion was, I put it on this list, way back in the fall of 24. And it was suggested to us in that first budget or that first public hearing that we had by some of the folks who testified to consider increasing the transfer tax to establish another source of revenue for school capital projects and deferred maintenance. And I'm not going to read this whole kind of explanation I include under there, but the key is that I think is kind of part of the motion is that I think that you'd only increase the transfer tax for home sales over a set threshold.
So Jeremy, in keeping with what I suggested, I need you to just read the motion,
Yeah.
which is not the whole thing.
Right. I was just saying
Yeah.
like that first sentence of the details, I thought kind of it would be relevant, but I'll do
That's
as you
fine.
said. Move
Yeah.
to recommend that the county increase the transfer tax to establish another source of revenue for school capital projects and deferred school maintenance.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion. Jeremy, I'll kick it back to you to layer in any detail that you'd like to before we share it in the room.
Yeah, so I think, the idea is that given that housing turnover contributes more than any other source to new students, that in addition to new development, trying to raise additional revenue sources for school capital projects by increasing a transfer tax, I think is something that we should recommend. I would envision, as I explained in that detail section, that it would only apply, the rate increase would only apply to home sales over a set threshold and would not impact any home sales below that set threshold. So that's the recommendation. It would create new revenue sources for the counties, the school systems, capital budget.
Blackoff has his hand raised.
Yeah, this is Paul. If I were to support this, I would only support it if that lower threshold was stated explicitly in the motion.
Okay.
What lower threshold, Paul? I'm sorry.
If he's saying 750,000, 800,000, I mean, you made the motion. I'd suggest he state what that threshold is, but absent a threshold, I could not support it.
Hey, this is
I'm happy to.
Hey, Paul, would it be
Yes.
better that lower end threshold be tagged to something a little more relative, just because values do change? Average value does change over time.
That's certainly conceivable. But it would have to be well above the median, I guess, or well above the mean. I'll leave it to Jeremy.
The median sales price in Howard County right now is $650,000.
I mean, 1.5 times the median then is approximately 1 million. So if you want to try to peg it to something, you could say 1.5 or 150% of the median home value.
So let me just posit a question. Given that houses that sell for 500,000 also contribute students, why are we indexing this? Well, I mean, why are we indexing it at all? I mean, why are we creating a system that is specifically establishing that higher dollar sales should not only pay more, they're paying more already if it applies to everybody because they're higher dollar, but it only applies to the higher dollar sales. I don't understand what's the underlying rationale for that.
I mean, I'm concerned about home affordability, particularly for first-time buyers and others. So I wouldn't want to increase the transfer tax to folks who are, looking at starter homes per se. That's my rationale.
We had Jen's hand and then Lisa's hand was up.
So I move to amend the motion to include home sales over 750,000.
I'll second that.
So I guess we need to call for the vote on that specifically first, and then we'll call for the vote pending more discussion on the revised motion.
Unless someone has discussion.
Correct. Yes, you're right. Anything else on Jen's revision? Revised motion?
I was just going to say that if the majority of the committee wanted to put a number in versus a percentage of something other measure, just like Jen has suggested, I think that would be fine because there are a lot of financially related laws, state and local, that use thresholds and over which are different amounts, under which are different amounts all the time. And then they amend them over the years as they see fit. So I agree with this one, Jen's suggestion.
Can you see my screen in the amendment? So move to recommend that the county increase transfer tax to establish another source of revenue for school capital projects and deferred school maintenance, and then amendment to motion 48 for home sales above 750,000.
Got it.
And who seconded that motion?
Antoine.
Antoine, thank you.
Call the vote.
No, well, hang on. We didn't finish. If there are any, is there anybody that wants to comment on that proposed revision? If not, I will definitely go to the vote. But I just want to point out, it's easy to talk percentages, but what you're saying is then we want an additional $1,875 from every sale at 750 and then 1,000 and then going up from there. So anytime somebody buys a house in Howard County over $750,000, we're going to be taxing them an additional $1,875. So I just want to make that clear. Any other comments, or should we go to the vote?
I will make a comment on that. That presupposes that the increase in the transfer tax is a set amount, and it isn't. What we are suggesting is we are just saying an increase. It's not an increase of X amount. So we don't know what that would be. The recommendation is simply for an increase.
Fair enough. I was assuming that, because Jeremy and I had spoken about this earlier, and he had talked about a 25 basis point increase. So I was imputing that in it, and I didn't realize it wasn't actually stating. So.
I'm sorry, Todd. I don't recall that conversation. I don't think we talked about a specific amount.
Okay, fair enough.
Can I just say something? So Howard County just raised their transfer tax by 0.25% for everybody. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Maryland already has the highest transfer and recordation charges of any other state in the United States. We charge so much money when people buy and sell houses. And Howard County is a leader in that. And I think if you're going to go down this path, then you need to add something to it that says the money is going to be lockboxed, because otherwise it's just going to go into the fund for all the other transfer tax. So I understand the thought process here, and I understand that what seems to be happening is the new build is getting hit with the weight of carrying all the budgetary desires to fix what's going on, when we know through this process that it's really resale homes that are probably feeding more into the school system than the new construction. But for me, it would have to be a whole lot lower than almost $2,000 on I mean, $750,000, honestly, that's double income. They're both working. They're probably stretching to get the mortgage. I mean, people come to look at houses that are, $600,000, and they're already saying, oh, well, we're already both working. We got kids in childcare. We got this, we got that. I mean, it's already, so I don't think that this is fleshed out enough to be carried forward. Thank you.
So any other comments first on Jen's amendment to 750,000? Because we need to vote on that first and then go to the primary motion.
This is Antoine. The only comment that I'll make is having a fiscal threshold for this would actually make the recommendation feel like a recommendation. I'm sitting myself in the county council seat of thinking through this, and what that rate is would be up for their discussion.
You mean what the level is, or the rate of the increase?
The rate of the
level.
increase.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The rate of the increase.
Which we're not addressing.
Correct. And I don't, based on my quick reading of APFO, I don't think we're equipped or should be equipped to talk about the rate, but giving the recommendation that things that are 110% over the median current sales are paying more of a transfer tax, that makes sense to me.
All right, so we need to call for the vote on the 750 first.
Calling for the
That's what
vote.
I had thought I called earlier. That was my intent. was to
Okay.
Call the vote on the 750.
And a second?
Second.
Lisa was the second. I'm sorry. Is that right?
Sure.
Mr. Arterburn,
On the proposed amendment, no.
Mr. Brown,
I would say no as well. I don't think it makes housing any more affordable.
Mr. Casagrande,
Yes.
Mr. Crossley's not here. Mr. Damien,
Yes.
Mr. Essen is not here. Mr. Glykoff,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
No.
Mr. Lovelace is not here. Mr. Lubley is not here. Ms. Mallow,
Yes.
Ms. Markovitz,
Yes.
Ms. Pantano,
Yes.
Mr. Scherer,
Yes.
Mr. Wright.
Yes.
All right, and the motion passes. 8-3.
So let's go back to the primary motion as amended now. Is there any other discussion there? If not, we can go ahead with that, Linda.
Okay. All right, Mr. Otterburn,
No.
Mr. Brown,
No, for same reason.
Mr. Casagrande,
Yes.
Mr. Damia,
Yes.
Mr. Glykoff,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
No.
Ms. Mallow,
Yes.
Ms. Markovitz,
No.
Ms. Pantano,
Yes.
Mr. Scherer. Sorry about that. Okay. And Mr. Wright.
Yes.
Okay. Well, this was a squeaker. All right, the motion passes 6-5. And just so I can have my opposition summary, what was the opposition prevailing thought on this one? I can kind of glean from the context of the conversation.
I would defer
me
to
personally.
Laura.
Well, I would
I
say
agree
that,
with what Laura said.
yeah, I would say that we already have the highest transfer and recordation charges of anybody, and we just raised transfer and recordation charges about 2 or 3 years ago. And also nowhere in this bill does it say that money stays out of the general fund. It's just, I get the thought, but it's not fully baked.
John, did you have anything you wanted to add, or is that pretty
No, I
Laura's
would
thoughts?
I would agree with what Laura said. I don't think that, I don't think I want to be raising anyone's taxes in this county in terms of affordable housing is already a problem. So, and not knowing exactly where the money's going, I think that's a big no-no. You're just raising taxes and making houses that are already not affordable still not affordable.
I wouldn't mind adding a reason why I said no is because I would rather see some funding directed to the causes that lockbox comments that have been made from a local standpoint, maybe with different types of financial things that the county council could control. Thank you.
So I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand what you're saying, Lisa. So more of a having a more of a lockbox.
Yeah, like I think in the past they had talked about raising, I think it was recordation costs and possibly going toward funding school maintenance, deferred maintenance. So I would be more interested in something like that.
So having a specific fee that the money
Yeah, I
went
guess
to.
just in general, I'm saying I would like to see something more locally controlled be discussed than this. The easier way to put it.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Linda, let us know when you're ready to move forward then.
Okay, so now we're going back to 40. Okay. All right, so now we're back to motion 48. Or 40, sorry. We did all of those. Okay, yep. Moving on.
All right. So back to the parking lot.
Yes. Let me just do this really quickly.
Wouldn't 123 be next? No?
That's not it. Um,
If it's the ones in purple, the last three are Paul's, and we only have three left, and that's 123, 125, and 126, and they're all Paul's.
I don't
And
think
I've
you're seeing
withdrawn
quite the
them
right
several
thing. I don't know
times.
why it keeps going to that. I apologize. Hold on, let me just shut that
Yeah,
down.
because there are still some that were on Brent's list, if I'm not
Yeah, there are.
mistaken.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should finish this, and if we need to go back up, let's not, but I don't think it's good to jump around. Can we just get to the bottom, and then if we need to go back, go back?
Agree.
So,
I
Paul,
think Paul's already withdrawn all of these.
I've
I just
withdrawn.
I'm just double checking. Are these all gone? So look back at your old stuff on, these were still on there. So just double checking on that.
I'm looking at them right now. I have withdrawn them and I will withdraw them again.
Yeah, I even looked at your most recent stuff and they were still on there. Okay. All right. So now
I will second your withdrawal.
I know I'm so sorry. I'm just so now we just had some from Mr. Lovelace that were remaining.
Yeah, that's it.
So I don't know how you want to proceed. He's not here.
I mean, they're his motions. If he's not here to read them and support them, my suggestion is that they're forfeited at this point. But like I said, pending his potential arrival later on in the meeting. But if otherwise they're forfeited because we're not meeting again. So this is it. So that said, there is one new motion that was put forth, and that was by Paul. And I'll turn it over to him.
Okay. I will read the motion, but I'm also placing it in the chat as we speak so everyone can read it themselves. The motion is to modify the previously approved SOUP model to incorporate a minimum payment factor equal to 50% of the maximum payment factor for each of the three tiers. And specifically, tier 1 minimum payment factor would be 20%. The tier 2 minimum payment factor would be 40%. The tier 3 minimum payment factor would be 60%.
All right, so let's first do the same thing, and that's look for a second.
Second.
And all right, good. And so we'll move to discussion. Paul, I'll give it back to you if you want to go into any more detail, and then we'll kick it around the room.
Yeah, actually, in discussions and specifically in discussions with Lisa and reflecting on the conversations that we had after the second public hearing, there were a few comments from the public hearing, more in the written testimony that was submitted, stating that they supported the what was then the UPP, now is the SOUP, but they believe that the payment levels should be higher to justify essentially eliminating all waiting periods for new development. And this was an attempt to develop a very simple model at this late date to illustrate what the impact of this might be. And in talking it through, the 50% level would in effect kick in only when a single tier, or rather a single level in each of the schools is affected. And I can share a screen and show that, or I'll stop at this point because I know time is of a premium.
Any initial thoughts around the room?
What's the
Jen
variance?
has her hand up.
So my question is really, do we have a side-by-side comparison of what it was approved as to what you want it to be so that I can see the difference?
Yeah, if you're okay, I'm going to share my screen for a second because I actually do have something to show that. Let me make sure that I can click share content, share.
You can't share, Paul. I have what you sent today.
Okay.
If you want me to share that.
If you could share that, yeah, if you could put that up, please. And we'll begin with the current model as it's, so it's the first slide.
Okay.
So this is what was included in Linda's presentation to the second public hearing. And if you can skip down now to the, and actually looking at this, look at the total line. For tier 1, it's 40%. Tier 2, it's 80%. Tier 3, it's 120%. And if you now skip down to the third slide, what is being proposed is a minimum, which is the max, the line above, times 50% as a percentage factor. So this is half of what that maximum is. Again, the intent is to drive more revenue that is targeted for school capital improvements and capacity expansion. And what's really at stake here is, in any of these situations, the only time the minimum would kick in, and let's just focus on tier 1, is if there was only one school level that was at the threshold. So let's assume for a moment in tier 1 that there's an elementary schools above 105%. The charge, the payment factor would be 18.46%. What we're recommending here is that actually be increased to 20%. The extreme in each situation is the middle school, because those are across the board the lowest payment factors. So if there was a middle school, and only a middle school, that was in the tier 1 above 105%, the difference between 20% and 9.23% is the 10.77% factor, which is on the bottom row of this table. And that bottom row, that 10.77 is equivalent, the 21.54 is 40 minus 18.46. The 60, or rather the 32.3 is 60 minus 27.69. So that's the effective premium that would be paid. Otherwise, it's an additive process. If an elementary school in tier 1 and a middle school were above that 105% threshold, the minimum wouldn't matter. It would be 18 plus 9, I could call it 18 plus 10, 28%. So what this is intended to do is to moderately bump up the revenue stream and frankly make the SOUP model more attractive, A, to the county council, and B, to the public, whoever looks back at the work that we've done to make recommendations here. And I'll stop there.
Anybody else in the room want to take a shot at this?
No, I know my position. I would be ready to call for the vote.
Well, no,
Has your hand raised.
yeah, there are others.
All
Yeah.
right, thank you.
Yep. Who was it? I'm sorry, Linda.
Lisa, then Jeremy.
Okay, and consider mine up too.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay, the reason I like this is because when you are eliminating the weight, and the goal is to say, hey, the benefit you're getting, everyone projects there's no more weight, and the benefit to the county is that you get money instead of waiting. And when you have a project that is hitting in only one of these 9 possible places, because a combination of 2 is going to make this irrelevant within these tiers. So like if you're only hitting one of them, you're basically getting out of what would have been a 4-year wait for say 9% or 18%, or it could be as low as or as high as what you're looking at on the screen here. And I just feel like going into this, we spent time, we developed a maximum. I think it makes as much sense to develop a minimum, because the benefit that's being given of no wait when you would have had 4 years is extreme benefit. And even though you're hitting one piece, you would have waited 4 years on hitting that one piece prior to SOUP. And now you're getting a 4-year wait eliminated for a very small amount. So to me, having these minimums, that 4-year wait being eliminated seems an extraordinarily beneficial for these minimums. And sometimes when the community was looking at examples in this, there was such an uproar, and it made sense because in a lot of these project examples that were being looked at, it hitting one of these things made it a very, very cheap buy to eliminate the whole wait. So that's why I like this. I think it's simple, it's easy to understand. The council can like it or not, but I think we should responsibly set a minimum, just like we set a maximum. Thank you.
Linda, you said Jeremy's next.
Yes, Jeremy, then you.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say we spent hours and hours like trying to define and come up with a proposal for what these percentages should be. And I mean, I thought the whole idea in my mind was if only the middle school is at tier 1, then you just pay what the tier 1 fee is for that middle school. Or if the high school's at tier 1, you only pay for the high school. Like, I don't really understand this or agree on the merits with this concept of a minimum. And then also, I feel like, as I said, like we've spent so much time going through this, like I feel like it's pencils down time on SOUP at this point, and let's hand it to the council and they'll do what they do. But like, I don't think we should be revisiting some of this stuff that we've already spent hours and hours coming to agreement on.
And I guess it's my turn to jump in first on Jeremy's point and then on Lisa's. Yeah, I'm concerned as well. I mean, I think we did spend hours on this, and I think if we were going to establish a floor, we needed to be thinking of that in the same context of establishing the rates 40, 80, 120, and understand how they relate to one another. That's number one. And I'm a little concerned we're doing this at the very end of a long process, but we're doing it without much ability to think and digest. And it seems to me that this is something that, one, should have been done earlier, but secondly, if we're going to do it, it needs a lot more time and thought than 15 minutes in this meeting. Secondly, I want to go back to Lisa's point, and there's a misnomer and a misunderstanding of what we've done with the weight versus the fees. We have eliminated the weight, that's correct, on a lot of schools, but I need to point out that the current chart, the one that we're working from now, and it's interesting because it's specifically most striking in middle schools. The current chart for middle schools for the current planning year, which is 28-29, there are 3 closed middle schools under the current system on that chart. There are 9 middle schools subject to the SOUP. on the current chart. So we're not trading off a wait time for a fee, except for 3 of those total schools. So if I go down the list, I can read them off. I don't think it's relevant at this point, but the point is that we're collecting soup charges on schools that are open. And that has changed vastly with the new chart. The old chart was 24 closed schools. Now we have 12. 9 of those, 3 of those are middle school, but 9 middle schools have soup charges. So what we're really doing is we're kind of blending it over, the additional fees, we're blending it over, not just on the closed schools off the old chart, but also open schools off the new chart. And we're asking them to pay more. And now, particularly with middle schools, if it's going to go up by 10.7% in middle schools, I mean, that's $1 basically, another $1 per square foot. And that gives me some pause on the specific merits of this, as opposed to the process that we're going through. So I would just say that, and I think it's important for all of us to know that we are not just trading time for money. We're trading money on more projects for time on fewer projects, and that's a key point. And that's a key point, I think, in selling this to the council as well, because we are collecting more fees on more projects than we would otherwise have collected under the old plan. And in fact, I would almost argue that APFO, the old APFO, is dying an organic death over time, with the 105, 110, and 115 for overcrowding standards and closure standards under the old APFO. If the county doesn't get on board with a soup sort of plan, we may see 24 go to 12, go to 9, go to 7, go to 5, and then we're not collecting any fees and we're not delaying anything. It's kind of the worst of all worlds if we do nothing, if we just leave APFO the way it is. But we're proposing that more schools, more projects that feed into more schools pay fees than projects that would benefit from the delay, from the elimination of the delay. So I'll leave it at that.
Next was Jen and then Phil share.
So I think that while this is a newer idea to some of us, myself included, I don't think the concept is as flighty as others have made it out to be. I think it really has merit of saying the goal of going to a soup was to generate revenue to free up the ability to have development, but also for that development as it is to occur to give a greater subsidy to increasing school infrastructure and other community infrastructure pieces. So I don't think a minimum soup level is really that far outside of what we've talked about extensively. And I think it's a very solid idea that if you're taking away the wait times and effectively just narrowing it down to allotments or allocations, sorry, then this is a reasonable mechanism to ensure that there be an increase in funds that isn't necessarily going to penalize the home buyer as much, or isn't going to do that, and at the same time does allow for greater collection of infrastructure funds. So for me, this is a no-brainer that I will be supporting this, because I think it, and again, we know it's just a recommendation. The county council, if they don't want a minimum, they don't do a minimum. But if they do think it's a reasonable expectation to have both a minimum and a maximum, then so be it. But I think there's valid reasons for doing this, and it's not haphazard at all.
Phil, you're next. He lowered his hand.
Sorry,
Oh, sorry.
misclicked.
Sorry.
Well, I have a technical question about how the tiers would interact here. Say, for example, hypothetically, we have a project in a polygon with a tier 1 high school and a tier 2 middle school. If you add those percentages up, you get 31-ish%, which is above the minimum for tier 1, 20, but below the minimum for tier 2, 40. Would the project in question get charged 40% or 31%?
I would think, Paul, you can answer this, but I would think that where you're hitting in tier 1 would be minimum of 20.
Great question, Phil, and I don't
go
have
ahead.
the answer
Yeah,
to
go
that,
ahead.
but if we were to modify it, I agree with Lisa that you would go for the minimum 20%.
Okay, then if we're modifying this or we're defining this in such a way that the minimum only kicks in when there's one school, I would support this. If it's going to kick in with 2 schools, like from different tiers, I don't think, and take the higher one, I don't think I would.
To clarify how we responded to your question, if it includes 2 schools in different tiers, our interpretation, although it's not specified in the motion, but it could be modified, would be that the lower minimum would apply. And I'd need a moment to think through the language that might include.
What you're thinking. I think this goes to the point that Jeremy made. It's a good question, and we don't know, and we haven't thought through this very well. So then we're going to revise a motion to charge a minimum or to make a recommendation to charge a minimum. But the thing is I think, we're all in a pretty good position to be able to look at what we've done previously and be able to explain it. Right now, that's a simple question that we're like, I guess I'm not sure. I don't know. There are 9 middle schools that there's a soup charge, but only 3 of them are getting any benefit of reduction in time. So how does that work? Are we trying to, because our objective was twofold. One is to raise funds, and one is to facilitate and make development more attractive and so that we can deliver additional housing. I'm not sure how all this comes together. And in fact, I think there's an element of that to what we've already voted on and recommended. We don't really know. We're kind of placing a bet that the increase in the soup charges will be offset by the attractiveness of no wait time for those projects that benefit from it. But if you're a project sponsor that today is applying for its APFO schools test, or the soup test in this case, in a middle school that's not delayed due to APFO, and then all of a sudden you're going to be charged the fee even though you weren't subject to the delay, I don't know that I think that's fair. So I don't know. I think there are a lot of issues associated with this that we can't really anticipate or understand, and we're trying to do this on the fly, and I'm concerned about that.
In response to Phil's question, I'm submitting a motion to modify the earlier motion, which I now finally hit the send button in, which would be that if the project falls under 2 tiers, the lower tier minimum would apply.
2 or more.
2 or more.
I'll second that.
So let's vote on that first, Linda, and then we'll go to the main motion.
Wait, could we do discussion on that?
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, I was just gonna poke a hole in the thought process here because it just doesn't pass the logic sense to have only the lower minimum apply. Because if I'm understanding what Paul is proposing correctly, he's saying, for example, if there's a middle school that's at tier 2, and that's the only school that's at any tier, then instead of paying 18.46% under Paul's proposal, that middle school would pay 40%, right?
Yep.
That's how the minimum would apply. But now
That's
you're
correct.
saying if there's the same development suddenly has now the middle school still at tier 2, but also has the high school at tier 1. So under the way it currently works, as we worked out, that would be, the 18.46 plus 12%, approximately 30%. But now, in this case, if you're saying only the minimum, the lower minimum applies 20%, I guess you'd still pay 30%, is what you're saying here, right?
That's correct.
Yeah,
But
because
if
it's the
it's-
minimum. It's not a
Right,
new rate.
but like, so
The
now I'm
minimum is
comparing, you have the same
irrelevant.
development in scenario 1, the middle school's at tier 1 and the high school's at, I'm sorry. If you have the middle school at tier 2 and the high school at tier 1, then you would pay 30%. But if it's only the middle school at tier 1, I'm sorry, if it's only the middle school at tier 2 and there's no other school at any tiers, now you're paying 40%. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I agree with Jeremy on this one. The scenario that I proposed, like if we suddenly had another school that became overcrowded, that means the development now gets charged less.
Exactly.
No,
So if
because
there's
it's the
only
minimum.
if there's
It
one
can't be
school,
less.
if there's one school overcrowded, they pay 40%. You have 2 overcrowded schools and we're paying 10% less.
Paul or Lisa?
Back to you,
Um,
Mr. Chair.
The example that Phil just said, if 2 schools will pay less than 1, I don't think I'm not seeing that, because if there are 2 schools, one in different tiers, right? You're applying a minimum of the one, but then you're adding that to the other tier. You're not saying the minimum for the whole thing is 20%. You're saying like what would have been middle school 9, say middle school 18, right? If you added those together, and that's 27, that's over the minimum that it would apply as the minimum you'd have to pay in the lower tier amount. So it's just putting a minimum so that if there's only one, it's not getting off so cheap. And you're right, you could look at examples that say, oh, these various examples aren't relating to each other in a seemingly fair way, but that's not the goal. The goal is to take a floor and make it so that the cheapest things have a minimum. That's my reply. Thank you.
But doesn't Phil? Go ahead. I'm sorry, Paul.
I just said nothing further here.
But doesn't Phil's example still stand? I'm not clear where we are now.
I kind of get it now what he's saying. So it does, but just like you said, Todd, about the original soup, there are inherent unfairnesses in it. Like you said, some people are not having a wait and they would not have had a wait and they're still paying a soup charge. I mean, you can apply the same thing to this and say there might be some things when you compare them to each other within this that aren't charging more for being more crowded. It's because that's not the goal, is to take every aspect of this and make it comparatively fair. What it's doing is same as a maximum, it's just creating a minimum, so that if you have a rare circumstance where you've got one hit, it's not so tiny. Yeah, that's all.
If we're going to do a minimum, maybe I have a proposal for an alternative that would still scale mathematically in the right way, where the more schools are crowded, the more money you collect. And the alternative here would be a similar system, but instead of having a minimum percentage for each tier, there's simply a fixed amount that gets charged in addition to the soup, where if you have any school that's overcrowded, you start with 10%. So we don't add any numbers to any of these tables. It's just the final calculation is 10% plus what the soup says. And if you're in a polygon with no schools, then you pay 0%. That eliminates the discontinuities between schools from different tiers. It still raises additional revenue. And it also models the situation a little better as well, because if you're in a district that is overcrowded, there's a massive amount of fixed cost overhead with tearing down and rebuilding a school.
So Phil, to clarify or restate the example that you threw out, if there is a project that only hits one polygon, one cell in any of these, and let's just pick tier 1 middle school, instead of 9.23%, it would be 19.23%.
Yeah, I think that's what he's saying.
Correct. And if it was a high school in tier 3, or actually high school in tier 3, or elementary school in tier 3, it's at 55.38. The minimum,
it'd be 65.
Yeah, 46, 37, 65 on tier 3, right? So some will be higher, some will be lower than what this chart is. Some will be higher, some will be lower in this chart, but if that makes people more comfortable, I don't think it's a bad notion.
I think the one thing just to point out is that there already is a base. It's not as if everybody's getting off with nothing. It's $8.15. There's a school surcharge of every square foot already in the county. This is just adding to it. And that's really the question is, and it's the question we've had to wrestle with, is if we're going to add to the cost of development above that $8.15 per square foot, is the incremental cost offset by the reduction in delay. Clearly, the projects that receive the benefit of the reduction or elimination in delay, they are much more likely to see a benefit from the new system. But off of the current charts, the 11 schools that will pay soup charges in middle and high school, the 8 of those 11 would not be delayed. So they're not getting any benefit from the elimination of delay because there is no delay. But now all of a sudden there's 8 schools that are subject to not only the $8.15, but also the soup charge, whether or not there's a minimum. The minimum is just increasing that $8.15. So I don't know. I think I think we're in uncharted waters that I'm nervous about increasing costs even more on projects that are not getting any benefit from elimination of delay. And remember, we talk about it as if we're going to collect these fees. All we have to do is say, well, you know what? The minimum should be 20% or 18% or 26%. We only collect fees if people go forward with projects. That's the problem we have now, is that projects aren't proceeding. So all of the estimates that go back to the 2019 passage that we've been dealing with through our whole process, increasing just the base school surcharge, that's a major part of us not getting the housing that we need in the county. I don't know if anybody has anything else, but first we have to vote on the revision. If there is a standing revision, I'm not clear right now, and then we have to vote on the primary. Because I do want to turn this over to Linda before long here on the draft report.
The revision that I had offered, I'm actually going to withdraw, given Phil's comments, because it's got discontinuity to it. That's, to me, is uncomfortable. If anyone else wants to modify the original motion, it's up to you guys.
I had seconded that, and I'm fine with you removing that. Thank you.
So as we stand now, Todd, the original motion is out there.
Understand, right. Any other comments then on the original motion, or should we go ahead and take a vote on it, knowing that there are issues with it that we're not quite clear on? So do I hear a call for the vote?
Yeah, I think we need to restate the motion and let's make clear everybody understands exactly verbatim what the motion is, and then yes, vote.
All right, I'm restating it.
Yeah.
Modify the previously approved SOUP model to incorporate a minimum payment factor equal to 50% of the maximum payment factor for each of the 3 tiers. And Linda, you can copy and paste it from the chat if you want to.
That's what I did. So modify the previous approved SOUP model to incorporate a minimum SOUP payment of 50% of the maximum SOUP payment for each of the 3 tiers.
That's it.
Okay. All right, Mr. Otterburn?
I'm uncomfortable with this on a lot of levels, so I'm a no.
Mr. Brown?
No.
Mr. Casagrande?
Yes.
Mr. Domia?
No.
Mr. Glykoff?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
I'm going to say we already have something built in here to revisit this in a year or two if it looks like it needs to be plus or minus. And we spent so much time figuring out the original one. So I'm going to say no.
Ms. Mallow?
Yes.
Ms. Markovitz?
I think it's really important to have a minimum, and I think they can work out the details. We spent a lot of time making a maximum. I think a minimum is warranted, so I'm going to say yes.
Ms. Pantano?
Yes.
Mr. Scher?
No.
Mr. Wright?
Oh, to be a tie-breaking vote. Sometimes that's what happens at the very end here. That's rare, but my vote is yes.
Oops. Okay, and the motion passes. It's another squeaker.
Wow.
So I think that completes our motions, actually. Thank you, everybody. And with that, Linda, I think you have the minority view pretty well understood on this one, right?
Yes.
So which is great. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Linda, we still have another hour plus.
Yeah, I don't
and,
think we're gonna need all that time, I hope, but
okay.
I do want to go over what we have, where we're going, and what to expect in the timing of things. Okay. All right, so. Okay. So let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, so in keeping with our theme, this is generally going to be kind of the format of our report, similar to our, our logo committee information, the report, the date of the report that we end up forwarding it to the county council. I'm just going to share with you the appendices. So much as with the last APFO committee, much of really the materials that you were given, that was all put into the appendices for the last APFO committee. So I'm not going to send this out to everyone. Basically, all your materials that you already had that we had in the virtual notebook. There's basically 554 pages of that. And so it's all the information. The other thing I'm also going to put in here is not only the table of motions that we have been keeping up, but I do want your feedback. Do you want all of these other backlot motions that were discussed and didn't kind of really go anywhere, that were taken up for other reasons? So the 114 or 120 something different motions that were discussed. Would you like that also included in the appendices? Or do you think it's not necessary?
I would make a motion to say no, because I think there's so much material here that you're just going to confuse people. So I would make a motion to say no to that.
I agree with you. I don't know if you're asking for a vote or not, but
I'm not really asking for a vote, more just kind of a show of hands. If you feel like you need to take a vote, I just wanted to get some feedback on that. But the appendices will basically be broken out in Appendix A through G. Now, the last APFO committee, every piece of information that was distributed was its own appendices. I've chosen to consolidate it a little bit in terms of what is in each section. So where it made sense to break it out, we did. So kind of your parliamentary rules of procedures, your supplementary research and literature presented, public testimony split out between the two public hearings, your table of motions, the recently adopted, this should actually say schools chart. And then I had put in the body of the document the multimodal recommendations. Since they're a little complex, I thought it was important to have the graphics and some additional information for council to be able to utilize as they made decisions for that. So then, I mean, you all can scroll through this and we'll send a SharePoint link for you all, because this would be way too big to send. But basically, this is just the format of everything. And there will be this will all be linked in the table of contents along with the presentation of materials. So we'll have this be linked a lot better and easier to find. So yes, Mr. Wright.
Yeah, personally speaking, I wouldn't mind having all the information in there. I imagine that by the time that APFO reconvenes, that this document would be a database and be an easier reference, piece of reference material for the committee that reconvenes. I use our existing material as a local database for just that while we're meeting. So I wouldn't mind having all of the content. It's just content. We've got calculators that can parse through it pretty fast.
So you're saying to put the backlot motions in as well?
Stick it all in there. Yes.
Yeah. So I think we do need to vote on that. I think we do need to vote on that, because I think there are varying opinions on that. So I would ask that we vote on the motion that I made and that Paul seconded, and then that will tell us yes or no on that, and we can move on to the next thing.
I'm down with the vote. Go for it.
Want me to memorialize the motion?
Yeah.
Do we need to? I mean, we could take a vote. That's fine, but it's not really a motion, right? I mean, it's just
It's a
a
vote.
what?
It's a vote, not a motion. Yes.
Yeah,
I
we
have a
just,
question.
we need
I have
to
a
have
question.
something where it's yes, memorialized and it's not a guess as to whether or not the committee by majority decided what we wanted to do here. I think we need to know what the committee wants to do by majority here.
Well, by majority, it's either going to be there or it isn't. If it's there, we know,
Well, that's
right?
right. That's what I'm saying. So I would say like, but it's hard because we're virtual, right?
But you can
To
put your show
say,
of hands up. All you need to do is put
that's
your
fine.
hands up.
All right, well, let's do a show of
Can I ask
hands
a
then.
question first, just for clarity? Are we talking about including motions that people withdrew?
Yeah, the whole thing, like, so the backlot information, do you want the backlot information that we went through over the last several meetings
Yeah.
that had just the motions that we withdrew, we talked about that didn't move forward, the whole thing?
Let me restate what I think Laura's intent was the motion to only include those motions which we voted on, whether
That's
they were
correct.
in the affirmative or in the negative.
That's
Which is
right.
already
It would-
None
included
of
in the
the other
document.
ones.
Right,
being
yeah, so what I'm saying is we would not add to the document the backlot, which shows the ones that people decided they didn't want to do anymore, or because you already have the voting record in there, so if something didn't get, if something was put forth and shot down or not, I can't think of the right word right now, but
Like didn't get a second, then it wouldn't be in
yeah,
there.
it's already in there. So the only
It's in
ones
there.
that's gonna
It's
be
in there.
here is gonna be the stuff that people withdrew or decided they didn't want. And so I think that's superfluous, so.
Yeah, and didn't track with what we ultimately voted on as the model. So, yeah.
I do think if somebody made a motion and wasn't seconded, that isn't technically that should be included. Are we not talking about those, or we are talking about those?
Those are already in your combined motions if you look. If it was a formal motion made,
Okay.
that's already in the document. These are the
Okay.
ones that were the backlot,
Understood.
the things
Thank
that
you.
people,
Sorry.
yeah, sent in, yep.
Okay, got it. Got it.
So we're back to where
Show of
Laura and
hands.
Paul
Yeah.
were, and that is we're not going to include things that were submitted and never considered.
Right. So a show of hands as to who does not want to include that.
So just a show of electronic hands. Is that
Yes.
what you're saying? All right.
Put your hand up if you do not want it included. I can't see everybody's, so someone else has to look at that.
I can't either, but
Linda, can you see them all?
I can see them all, and it won't be included. It's
Okay.
interesting the lines at which that falls on.
Okay, all right. So, thank you. I just wanted a little feedback on that, so thank you. Then the presentation of material. So what we've included is, and then we can have tabular links to the material as we move through. We haven't tabbed them yet, but this will be, again, all electronic. So we'll make tabs to the presentations. This is kind of like a subtable of contents, if you will, what the presentation was, who was the presenter, and the date of which the presentation was given. So all that information is in here. And then going through the presentation all the way through, and which was a lot of information. We try to do it 2 slides per page. So there's just a plethora of information in here, including even the transcripts of the oral and written testimonies from both public hearings. So basically, it's a full record of what you all had to, what you participated in throughout the course of the last 22 meetings. And then, like I said, I included other supplemental information. There still might be some more if we need additional information for clarity's sake. for people to refer to the appendix. So that is what the appendices look like. So now I'm going to open up the body of the document and just go through some of the comments to make sure we have everyone's comments as they have been articulated and sent to us.
Can I ask that we make it much larger, please?
I will do my best to make it larger.
My glasses won't even help me see that. So
yep, nope, I will do my best to make it as big as I can. So I'm going to do view.
thank you.
All right, so you'll have to tell me because what I see is different than what you all see. Do you need this bigger?
Can you scroll up a little bit to some more words so that a little bigger would help me? I don't know about
Okay.
anybody else.
Linda, try the little box down in the lower right corner where it says 0 to 100%. You
How's
just, there's
that?
a
That's
slider
better.
button. You can just slide
Yep,
that.
this is 200%. How's that?
That's better
That's
Okay.
for
good.
me. Thank you.
So again, table of contents, we all know what that is. So then executive summary. So I'm going to go to the first comment. I'm going to open up also another document. So, and let me open up that other document really quickly. So what I had Lisa Kenny do, and I can send this to you all as well. I had her prepare a document of everyone's comments that we have received, and then had them put what the comment is, and then how we're going to be addressing the comment.
So Linda, isn't this the same as the email you sent yesterday at 10:17 p.m.?
The document itself is, but not the list of comments that we have received.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep track of all of the edits that we've received. So are you all seeing the edited document now? The table?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first is on the executive summary, paragraph 4, Mr. Casagrande, there was a note in there that said growth in enrollment projected to increase at a lower rate over the next decade. And then Mr. Casagrande said, what is the support for the proposition that student growth will be lower in the next decade?
And I
Lower in the decade than today. Yes.
And just, I think I edited the document to say that it is projected to increase at a lower rate. I think originally the report said it was projected to decrease. And that didn't jive to me with even like the most recent ATFO chart shows a growth. It's minor, but shows a very minimal growth in 10 years from now. So I just didn't agree with the statement in here that said the school population was going to decrease over a decade.
So
It's like it's a smaller increase, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the report originally said, well, I thought it said that to the student, I thought it said this misread, but
so what I
Does
had,
it
I'm
say,
having
you know,
Jeff
it
just
has the-
verify that. And then Dan Lubley chimed in after this was created, just saying that the statement is over, not throughout the next decade. So it is not a comparison of today versus 10 years from now. The current projections by the Office of School Planning show a low decline in enrollment throughout the next 10 years. So
I guess maybe I can talk to him, but that is different. The ATFO chart that was just adopted a couple of weeks ago shows increase in student enrollment, not decrease. So I mean, I'm just kind of sometimes at a loss as to, you know, the numbers. And I thought there was a lot of the kind of heavy language here about how, you know, we're losing lots of students, so schools aren't really an issue. And I don't think that's what we've heard throughout the course of this process.
Well, I think
I
But
just
if you
wanted to
look at the-
say I completely agree with Erin on this one. And I think that difference in language matters in what we're portraying and what we're addressing in this process. And there has actually been some times when some members like Jen Mello one time said it's not decreasing currently. So it's better to say it in a way that's more like it's at a lower rate, but it's not going to it's the way it's said, the way Erin, you're proposing to say it. Sorry, guys. It comes off a little bit more accurate in the way I feel it's been presented to us as well. Maybe that's what you said in different words, but I just want to say I agree with that and that change.
So,
But just so-
this
just so
statement
we're-
here with flat or slightly declining numbers projected over the next decade, you think is too dramatic?
I don't think that's accurate. I mean, that's, I guess,
But no, look, if you look at the school's charts, elementary school, the current planning year, 24-116, 10 years out, 24-322. That seems pretty much like flat or slightly declining to me, but
it's increase,
well,
right? Isn't it 200 more?
200 students in 10 years.
That's an increase, though. That's not a decline.
Not declining.
I mean, that's where I feel like,
And I guess what Dan is backing that statement by saying the current projections by the Office of School Planning show a low decline in enrollment over the next 10 years. So I guess validating that statement.
yeah, but the numbers that Todd just read out are actually, it's an increase. It's going up. So that's where I feel like there's a disconnect here. And maybe I can I'll try to give Dan a call, in the next few days, but
Todd, what is the total? Like you read off an elementary school number, but like what's the whole school system now and 10 years from now?
I don't have all three levels together, but
Okay,
so
sorry.
elementary was plus 200.
Uh-huh.
Middle is plus 40.
Okay.
High school is minus 280. So that's as flat could be if you look at all three levels together.
Right.
So
well,
then
I
could the
don't
report
get them
just
all
say
together.
that, how about it just says that enrollment is expected to stay level over the
Be
next
flat.
10 years?
Yeah,
Flat.
flat is relatively flat, would be good. Be accurate at least, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
And the other data point we had was the U.S. Census Bureau estimate of school-age children of age 5 to, and that's a little different because it's age 5 to 20, and that does show a slight decline. So I think we're arguing it's kind of a distinction without a difference. It's flat or slightly declining if you look at the Census Bureau numbers. It doesn't really matter. I think it's, and I would defer to Dan's judgment because he's the one who's actually producing this on an annual basis.
I want everyone to be comfortable. So can we say is expected to be flat over the next decade?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
good.
Vanessa, are you good with that? Your hand's still raised. Okay. And so I wanted to address that comment.
I am good with that. Thank you. So
Yep. All right. I'm just gonna toss these out as we've addressed them. And the next one had to be Lisa. We had made a statement that public school facilities surcharge for developers and new households feel dedicated to public school construction, and you said that school surcharges existed well prior to the last APBO. They were very low. And then Jeff Burnow said that they created a shared pool where any unused allocations from one of these areas could be pulled from the other area if available. So I'm going to go to the actual.
I don't think we're talking about the same thing, Jeff and I. I was talking about a comment, and I may or may not have clicked the exact area you noted there, but I was talking about a comment that talked about what the prior task force had done, and it said that the prior task force had implemented or created or started or something like that the surcharge fee. And I was just pointing out, no, the surcharge fee actually existed back then. We didn't create it.
It was
Let me
just
see.
$1 or something back then.
It
Yeah.
was low. It was really low. It was like
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
or less than 2 or whatever. But
So
yeah,
80 tops, 20 motions passed, the most notable recommendations. So restructuring the allocations test with an established communities.
here it is. New household fee dedicated to public school construction.
Where do you
Sco-
see that
yeah,
one?
okay, where it says a revised school test imposes a scaled public school facility surcharges for developers and a new household fee dedicated to public school construction. So I took that to mean that the other task force 10 years or so ago had created that
No, these are
fee.
the new recommendations. I just pulled this directly from the last report.
Uh-huh. Okay, maybe we were talking about creating an additional fee versus originating one. I just thought it could sound less confusing to people reading that. Sounds like we originated the school surcharge fee, and I just wanted to make it a little more clear that the prior task force was not creating the school surcharge fee, which that the school surcharge fee existed then, it just was very low. So maybe other fees were being talked about being in addition to it, so to speak, but that's how I was reading that.
Okay, I'll revisit what the language is that I pulled. I haven't been able to review that. To be honest, I just got back from vacation.
Yeah,
very
oh
late.
no,
First
I
thing Monday
completely
morning,
understand. It's
essentially
just
came
that
back,
if you
but,
cut and paste something that was a goal or something we talked about back then, I just think sometimes when you review things now and what are big issues now, you just have to clarify that we're not talking about.
Okay, yep, I'll make sure that I clarify and make sure that's accurate to what it says. Okay,
Yeah, thanks.
all right. Okay, so then on the next one was the wait times for developers remain the same. However, the scaled surcharge based on square foot feet and new household fee did pass county council. However, the downtown Columbia was not passed and was not put into code. This is not accurate. The 18 act legislation changed the wait times. And a new regional test, this was more restrictive than the task force's recommended changes over the prior year. Okay, so Jesse, this was correct. Oh, the capacity did pass. Okay, so I'll make that adjustment. So thank you for catching that.
Sure.
Okay, so we will make that correction on that one. Okay, so now there's been some controversy about when to introduce the soup from the UPP. So I was trying to be true to when the changeover occurred. So let me go to the document.
I think we should change it everywhere because we changed it.
So how do you, I mean,
I agree with you.
Grammatically speaking, if we're talking about things before anything that we talk about in the report before we voted for the change of the name to soup, we should name it as UPP parentheses later named to soup. And then anything after we have done that change, it would be soup from there. And that's only because the document is written in a timescale format rather than being written in a different logical
so that's
framework.
what I did.
I think that's accurate. There was just one place in the very beginning, I think it was with regard to the hearing, where it didn't say it. And so it was just that one little place right after the second public hearing, noting the public hearing information, where it's just a little spot where it's missing later renamed to.
Okay, so so on page 19 is where I made the changeover, because that's where we introduced the UPP, and I said rename to the school capacity premium, or soup in a future motion.
Right.
It's actually, for what it's worth, it's school over capacity.
Thank you.
Yep.
No, that is a very good, I was typing it up quickly earlier. So
But do
with
people
the,
agree with what Anton said? Because I think that makes sense. That from the beginning, you're going to say later named whatever, just to make it really clear for people that that's what's being discussed.
Yeah.
Great.
okay, we'll note that. All right. The next thing is, the minority opinion should be noted here and after each recommendation, for each recommendation. So one thing I did do is I put the minority in the combined recommendations. Do you want me to do that once we get to the recommendations at these recommendations?
Where's the minority opinion you said?
It's in the combined motions. So where I put the motions, I
I
put
think
the
it should
minor-
be in the report and not just
So
in
you
the
want,
motions.
the minority opinion in the body of the report?
I think it should be, since we don't have a minority report.
I think I'd like to vote on that because I disagree with that and I'd like to see what the other members of the
We
committee.
can't vote
think.
on that because we're voting.
We can raise our hands.
No,
We can raise
can
our
I,
hand.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Lisa.
I'm sorry. I just want to point out something that is contradictory. If the majority rules on not having a minority opinion, I don't think that that's appropriate. I mean, it's a minority opinion by definition that it's not the majority. So for the majority to say there shouldn't be a minority opinion is just not appropriate. There should be a minority opinion. And the fact that we're not having a minority report is one thing. We had a minority report in that last task force, but we did it a little differently. We kind of took each recommendation and put a little note as to what the minority felt. And I think that that should be in the report. And it's not even something when you're doing something like this that the majority can say not to do. It's like the minority needs to be heard, period. Thanks.
So I put them in the motions themselves at the end. I put at the end of each meeting where we had the motion with the opposition opinion was. So if you want it in the body, that's fine. I'm happy to do that, but I'll leave that up to you as a formatting issue.
Can I suggest a middle ground? Because I think having them in one place is sufficient. And if it's going to be in the table of the motions that passed and didn't pass, that's sufficient, but it may be useful when you're referring to that appendix in the report to make specific reference that, you know, the past motions as well as minority opinions or rationale for those can be found in table X or table Y.
Yeah, well, because
Just so that it's in the report that it says there are minority opinions, but to have them twice is just, this is 500 some odd pages now. It's overkill.
right.
The
So
body
I
of the
had my
report's
hand up
only
as well.
20 pages, just to clarify. So just an FYI.
Yeah. So I have my hand up and I just want to make it clear to Lisa that I'm not saying don't say what the minority felt. I'm saying I don't think we need to do it multiple times. It's in there. It can be seen. And I agree with Paul that if you feel like we put a footnote or an asterisk or something to direct somebody to that, I'm not saying don't put it in there. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying I just don't think we need it multiple
Okay,
times.
I'm sorry I misunderstood, Laura. And Paul, thank you. I do think that if we have it in the table of contents, that would be helpful for people to find it easier and wouldn't feel so buried. Thanks.
Well, I think what I'm going to do is what Paul said, that even here, where do say Appendix E provides a table of all motions made by the committee along with narratives outlining opposing viewpoints.
That's it.
That was stated in
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
the intro
Yeah.
paragraph, telling people where
There.
to go, but we can be even more explicit if necessary.
Just put it in the table of contents and I think that'd be perfect.
And then Antoine, so for the executive summary, you had some,
Yep, I'll say
style.
really. Yeah, I'll just say those paragraphs 3 and 4 for an executive summary are too detailed for an executive summary. if they can be combined into one, that would be great. And because it's an executive summary and we do go into the details of the soup later. That's all.
So you're
I did.
talking about the one that said in August 24, a 15-member APCO committee?
No.
That starts paragraph 3.
Excuse me. That would be the soup. That's not where my comment was.
I'm looking for your comment box.
Thank you.
It's on the second page.
Yeah, the soup,
paragraph
the
3.
soup
Okay.
tiers and the paragraph that's highlight. That's for that highlight. So those two paragraphs would be better served, at least in the terms of an executive summary. They would be better served as merged and not being as detailed, since the details of the soup are explained much later, and it's just a summary.
Yeah, and the executive summary is kind of written to stand on its own a little bit too. So if someone just wanted to read that, they could just read that and get the gist of it without having to go through the whole document. Do you think these two could be deleted, is what you're saying?
No, not deleted, combined. I think the
Fine.
content is fine. The content is more detailed, more verbose, or that's a better word, verbose.
Okay.
And what an executive summary should have. That was one of the parts I did not rewrite.
Okay.
I'm more than happy to take a hack at it if you want me to.
It's okay, gotcha. Okay. Okay, and there was just a lot of, yeah, I know that the formatting's it was never meant to be pretty. Antoine, so I got you on that.
No problem.
Yeah.
I'll speak to the images one, which is the next one then. So
Yes.
I did it in all of the images that I saw, but every image definitely should have a populated alt tag. Otherwise, there will be some of our community who will be not very happy with being able to not consume those images because they won't be able to see them.
Yep, absolutely. So everything that gets posted on our county webpage has to be ADA compliant. Is that what you mean?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep, it will the whole document will have to be. So that's something that Carrie Lenny and our department will do.
Oh, that's nice of them, because I sure enough was going to do that if they weren't.
Yeah, no, we actually have standards for that. So that's part of the
Oh yeah, no,
editing.
I know the standards. I've probably taught some folks.
Pardon me? Yeah, so
Yeah,
I mean, that's
gotcha.
something that we will do. So this will all be vetted through her to make it ADA compliant.
Cool, and then that is included for the tables in the document as well. The tables would also have to be tagged as compliant. They're
Which
not
tables are you referring to? In the appendices, you mean?
any tables in the document as a whole would have to be tagged. So they would need alt text, title, table captions, table body descriptions, and any links in the document would have to have the correct link description if the link is not already completely spelled out.
Yeah, she'll work on all of that for our compliance standards for the county.
Cool beans.
Yep. So we're already we have certain standards we have to meet for that. And then we'll add all the links for YouTube and things like that. That's just part of that finalizing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that one document, the one clip from I think this pulled from the website that has the several links on it. That's the one that we would have to have those links expressed, since that's a picture with links.
Yes. So this picture with links, that was just showing what it looked like. That was not meant to be linked. Are you talking about this one here?
Yes. So if we're going to do that, if we're just showing what it looks like, then the alt description for that image would have to signify that it's a descriptive image, signaling what it looks like. And this is so folks will not misinterpret that they should be able to read the text that's on that image.
Yeah, Correct. Yeah, they're not, it's just to show you what we did and how we posted and how easy it was to find on our webpage, that sort of thing. Yeah, I'll work with her on that thing. Dan isn't here, so he had a couple APFO questions. So I did, I do hear you say about some of the alarmist, maybe it was a little heavy-handed in some of the wording, so I'll work to soften some of this. And then he wanted to know, does APFO require schools and roads to keep up, or that development must be based on adequate public facilities? Maybe the statement is better to allow time for road capacity to be adjusted to new development. So I did update that wording, pulling that from our county code and what the provision of APFO stands for. And so it is not, I mean, it's definitely not, it's not verbatim as it said in our previous statement. So let me see, what do we have now? What did I say to Dan? I said to allow time for schools and road capacity to adjust for new development. I said but providing predictability to all parties and to direct growth to areas where adequate infrastructure exists or will exist. So I heard what Dan said, and so we'll go ahead and I'll make that adjustment to the paragraph that he was pointing to in the sentence, by requiring schools and road capacity to keep pace, to keep up with development. That's the intent, but we know that's not quite how it works. That's not even the intent of our code as it's written. So kind of change the wording to closely align with Howard County code. And then he had the same thing about the soup. That was it. Those were all the comments that we've received. Are there any other questions with regards to the document itself? My goal is to have this, based on tonight's presentation and motions, to finish this up, have it vetted, edited, and ready for you all by the middle of next week.
So is the document that we're going to get essentially one with all of the formatting things that you've described tonight completed?
Yeah, what you'll get will be a completed document.
Okay. Great.
And that plan,
Great job.
I'm sorry,
that
what, Paul?
plan is,
Yeah.
go ahead, Paul.
No, I think you did a great job. I'm through it.
Thank you.
There's a lot of nits and stuff, but you guys can take care of that stuff. I think
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and clean it up. I mean, I wanted to get the writing of it done and the basis. I wanted to make sure you all were comfortable with the direction it was headed in. And basically I took the old 2016 APFO report, looked at what they did and tried to mirror that and then update it for today and use that as the basis, but kind of took a different direction from what they did. I pulled a lot from HOCO by design in that section. And the reason I did that was because this APFO really did, it was birthed out of that. As opposed to other APFO committees, this one really was general plan driven. That's why it has so much language about HOCO by design. I think there's some questions about that. And that's why that verbiage is in there, because really a lot of the charges of what this committee did came from that, unlike other APFO committees. So that's why I did dedicate a lot of the section to that. And so I kind of then started veering away from what the last committee did in terms of formatting. I am going to also add some pictures just to make it more interesting from our public hearings that we did take pictures and some other graphic images just to kind of like make it look nice. So I want this to be a report that you all are proud of. I'm going to add like a nice cover entrance, other than having the table of contents. Again, all the members of the committee, even though you're in the body of the document, that you all are contributors to the document. So it'll look like a nice polished report when this is done.
Nice job, Linda.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think so too, Linda. Just great work, and it just tracks nicely with HOCO by design. So I'm really pleased.
Yeah, and thank you all for having patience with me. And I know I was late getting you all things at times. I truly understand. We have a lot going on, and I'm not making excuses. So I just want to thank you all for your grace and understanding. I was the sole person for this team. I know everyone thinks, oh, you had 50-some people on your staff, but everyone's extremely busy. So this was my sole undertaking to work with you all to get this done. So that's a blessing and a curse for everyone. So I really tried to do right by this committee by really focusing on it, but I'm sorry if I fell short in delivering timely things to you all. But I think at the end of the day, you all did an amazing job, and I really appreciate all of your efforts. And the county should be really thankful for everything you all have done. So I appreciate it and want to thank you on behalf of the county.
Well,
Yeah, well, Linda, I just want to say I never felt like anything came late. I felt like I had plenty of time to look at things. So, I mean, it's a fast-paced world. You got 3-year-olds looking at cartoons that don't keep their attention for a quarter of a second, you know, so I had no problem with the timing on everything, and I appreciate, you know, you clearly care, and that shows through, so thank you.
No, thank you. And the quick turnaround every 2 weeks, that's a fast pace we kept up with. I mean, 22 meetings, and now is the 12th month, essentially. That's a lot. That's a lot, people. Not even including the 2 public hearings.
right. And I just like to, I'm so happy that we've had quality attendance throughout. I mean, it's been great. And I know that was a big issue, Lisa, for you last go around. I mean, even, I don't think we ever had less than 9 or 10. I mean, even tonight we had 11. It's fantastic. But
Yep.
along those lines, so our final meeting is really just to vote on the 13th. And Linda told me earlier she'd like to be able to host it if people are inclined to meet and have that in person, even though it's brief, and then just have the opportunity as a group to be in a room together for a little while, not under the pressure of anything, just to kind of be together and enjoy it. And I'm sure she'll be sending out information on that. It will be available electronically for people who can't attend. But the one thing I would really hope is that we can get all or nearly all of everyone to attend to that final vote. That would be great. I would hate to see a final vote that passes, 7-1 or something. That would be a shame. I would really like to see 15 votes if at all possible. So we'll spread the word, and thanks to all of you for being here tonight. But with that said, we can adjourn for the night if I can get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And second. All right. And all in favor, aye. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Great meeting. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, everyone.